the manager of IGSHPA, Roshan Revankar here, and Kylah McNabb from the Oklahoma Department of Commerce. She's the marketing manager there. And they met this morning. We've met a couple of times, and they're going to be talking about the next evolution of the Go-Go Geo Challenge to bring it to public schools.
Thank you, Bob. It's kind of hard to speak after Mark. That's always been my case, but unfortunately, it put me in the spot. Won't take more than 10 minutes. Just going over what Mark just said. Partnership of Western Farmers, IGSHPA, and two other manufacturers, Bosch and Climate Master, is what we started off with. Go-Go Geo. These are the grand prizes that are going to be given out end of December 5th. And so these are all the partners that were part of the Go-Go Geo Homeowners Challenge. We reached out to close to 5,000 homeowners in Oklahoma, and they all took this challenge. So what was this challenge all about? At IGSHPA, we developed a program which would ask them these particular questions, just about 7 questions. What's their closest city? Oklahoma City, Tulsa. Square footage of their home. How good their air insulation is, or HVAC is, and what's their heating source and water heating source. And then we developed this program which would give them an energy saving in terms of percent, but also it did also give them the annual dollar savings for operating costs. So we really compared 5-6 different types of fuels, propane, natural gas, and all that, and their air source HVAC equipment, and this is what we handed out to them. And there was another card to go with it to check mark if they wanted to be contacted by any of these two other sponsors, Bosch and Climate Master. Like I said, we did this at all their annual meetings, tailgate events, basketball games, and football games at OSU. We've hit close to 5,000 homes.
We had some good barbecue at that tailgate.
It sure was. So this was Go-Go Geo Challenge 2. Partnering with Kylah and her team, and she's going to be talking about that in just a bit, we plan to come up with what we call Go-Go Geo schools. Why schools? Because again, big energy guzzlers. They all fall within the territory that Western Farmers works with. We want to partner with PSO and OG&E as well. And first start off with just Oklahoma. Again, we will be developing a program to compare schools. Now, schools are a lot more complicated than households. So the program developed at IGSHPA will be a little more intense. What I'm going to show you is what we really are planning on showing the school board members, guys who really make the financial decisions at school boards. The idea is to have 5 events in late October of next year in different parts of the state, 4 quadrants and Oklahoma City, and invite all the school board members to that event. It's going to be a 1-day program. We're going to talk about what geothermal is, what are their options, how the school can save in terms of annual energy costs. Just going to show them some presentations. This is one classic example of a school in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. If you see, this is 92, 94, so this is way back then, and even then with older technology heat pumps, this is what they saved in terms of kilo BTUs annually. So things like these are going to be, it's more of an educational program for all these schools that we want to partner with. This is what a school looked like when it was being worked on. These fields here are where all the boreholes were. We're going to show them that this is what the school looks like now. Notice there's nothing on the roofs there. So no cooling towers, no boilers out there. You get to use all your space, so on and so forth. So the idea is to bring to them all the benefits that geothermal can put on their plate. The other concern that we've always heard of is schools. Geothermal just costs a lot more. It's not within our budget. So then our plan is to show them similar schools of similar sizes, elementary schools, middle schools, Now notice on this one, now these are actual installations, again in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The top 4 are elementary schools, and these 2 of those 4 are geo schools. Bottom 4 are middle schools, again the other 2 are geo schools. Built around the same years, around 2001 to 2004. The top 4 have almost the same square footage, same with the bottom 4. And then we're going to show them what the actual mechanical costs were. Now these are actual costs of the mechanical system in these schools. And then you're going to compare the dollar cost, first cost per square feet. Now the best part about schools is that the ground loops tend to be a lot smaller and a little cheaper, because most of the schools do not operate in the summer months when there is peak requirement. What this does is it gives the ground a little more time to cool off, and that's the reason the ground loop is a little cheaper, and that's the reason the cost of ground loop or the ground source heat pump system is very much comparable to a regular chiller boiler type system. So the idea is to show them something like this, and then in the end of that day, hand them a report card that looks something like this, where you give them the total system cost if they were to retrofit their school. This is what it's going to cost them. Again, these are estimated costs. And then show them what their annual maintenance costs would look like for that school with that square footage. And look at the annual energy costs. And so that give them an idea of what the system would look like, what the cost would look like, what they could save. Notice the payback here says 0, but this is more of a comparison payback between the 2 systems. So it's calculating the difference of costs of boiler chiller system versus a geothermal system. Notice again the difference is not very much. So the first cost might be about 5% more for schools, and that's when we decided to partner with Oklahoma Department of Commerce and work with them. They work very closely with schools. So Western Farmers, Department of Commerce, IGSHPA, 3 other manufacturers hopefully, and OG&E and PSO. So that's kind of what GoGo Geo 3 will look like. Kylah?
Okay. Hate to get that. Or I will have to use my Baptist preaching voice.
Whoa, better go to the back row.
Yeah, we gotta run.
Okay, my name is Kylah McNabb, and I am with the Oklahoma State Energy Office. We are located within the Oklahoma Department of Commerce, actually. Our office is in charge of managing energy efficiency, renewable energy, and alternative fuel development across the state of Oklahoma. More specifically, I will talk. Our interest in this and coming in as a partner has to do with something that universities love, aka grants and grant money. My office manages on our own about $500,000 of federal dollars that come in from the Department of Energy each and every year, of which we put towards energy efficiency and renewable energy efforts. The GoGo Geo Schools Challenge came about because we had a unique opportunity at some nationally competitive funding to make an application towards new programs. This is where the idea generally came from. Unfortunately, we were unsuccessful in that particular application, but that doesn't mean other opportunities are not out there. For instance, currently there is a $5 million opportunity for universities to take the lead in residential home energy efficiency improvements in technology, of which geothermal is an applicable technology to be done, as well as software development. So these opportunities are out there. I know that's a very, very big thing that a lot of universities are interested in, and which is why IGSHPA 2.0 is a very, very critical component of this college, this institution, and this department. It's what you guys have an ability to do. Our history with geothermal comes from projects that we funded under the not so fun as Stimulus Act that came through several years ago. We had an opportunity with a great deal of funds to affect a great deal of projects across the state. We partnered with some utility partners. We installed 500 tons of geothermal in the Brady Village in downtown Tulsa. If you haven't been to Guthrie Green, highly recommend it. There's geothermal completely under that, powering the entire city block, all paid for by my office. But what we did this, so we took an opportunity there to really try to get the technology out there. We also came back with some lessons learned. Exact same things that Mark brought up in his presentation. Education is severely lacking on all levels, from the consumer to the manufacturers to the distributors, especially on the ground in the components and the drillers. We also found out of that geothermal is really and truly probably the biggest opportunity that this state has.
Absolutely.
From an energy efficiency standpoint, from a business development standpoint, and from an energy reduction standpoint. Maybe more so even with the national policy considerations that are taking on. So really and truly incredible speaking. This timing to me of IGSHPA 2.0 and their efforts and this essentially rebirth of what has already gained national accreditation. People know IGSHPA. People have talked to me about IGSHPA for years. And this timing could not be more perfect. How this ties in with what we are currently doing, again, we came up with this Go Geo Schools Challenge because we thought it'd be fantastic to hit the schools. Who needs energy efficiency reductions the most? Schools. Currently, what we are working on with my current year funding is starting up a new energy service performance contracting program for K-12 schools. You guys here at OSU, I have to say you guys because I am from the other school down south, but I am newly minted adjunct at OSU OKC,
Okay.
so I officially have an orange shirt in my house now. And my husband really gets a kick out of the orange parking tag I have as well.
You have keys.
I have keys.
Okay.
They let me in the building, so I do have a little bit of orange in me now, thanks to being an adjunct. But what we saw is an opportunity. There's a lot of work being done at the state level with performance contracting on state buildings. You guys here at OSU literally wrote the book on that. Rick Krisiak that's here, the sustainability team, and what this campus has done with energy efficiency is truly a national model. We wanted to build upon that only at the opportunity for the K-12 schools level. And I think personally, and my division thinks that that is where a huge role of geothermal can play. In the work that we're going to be doing in addition to that, as well as supporting an industry that really truly is in its infancy, and we really have the opportunity for this to be the go-to place in the country. It's there, we need to make it here. And that's what IGSHPA 2.0 can do for that. So we just, again, see a large opportunity. We hope to be able to bring in a partnership to bring in a lot of grant dollars to this university to help fund these efforts, to help fund the work of IGSHPA and what can be done to advance and make this truly the growth industry that it is. So happy to take any questions.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
question. Go ahead, Mark.
I don't have a question, but you just have to comment. Remember I told you that as utilities, rural schools are just critical to us. They're the pulse of rural Oklahoma. And if we're looking at utility costs, many of them already struggle to keep their doors open as it is now. And this is why it's a real privilege for us to try to work on this, because if in fact what's going to happen to us does happen and we can't hold that tide, these schools are going to have a real rough time. So it goes back to that mindset. We're trying to help them understand there is a storm coming. Here's how you weather the storm. Let us help you get ready for that. So for us in the rural area, it's extremely important.
Just a question. We have, we're one of the primary sponsors of a program called Project Lead the Way,
Yeah.
which is a STEM initiative.
Yep.
When you were talking about the kids being educated about sustainable energy, we need to develop a module that could go into the high school
Yep.
Project Lead the Way curriculum on sustainable energy.
And to be honest with you, expand on that, move it all the way down to elementary. A large part of this Go Geo Schools Challenge, we can challenge the kids like that too. There's no reason even K-8 students can't generally understand that technology as well.
Is there money available through Commerce for that, to develop it?
For right now, for what I have, no. Is it something that we're going to be looking at doing a part of as we roll out our performance contracting program? Yes. As I'm looking towards my next year's funding, it's something that we can certainly talk about and I can consider. So, but for this year, which will be my year that runs through next June, I don't have anything available right now. But springtime's when I start formulating my application as Congress hopefully doesn't shut down and take my money. but they were really good this past year. Early springtime, February, March is when I start putting my plan together for the next year.
I would love to visit with you about that.
Can do.
Project Lead the Way is managed through one of the other outreach, co-managed through one of the other outreach units, so this would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, would love to see that, most definitely. So, thank you.